All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're diving into a story that doesn't just ask some interesting questions, it fundamentally challenges how we think about reality itself. And we're going to explore it all through the lens of the telepathy tapes. Everything starts with these three simple words: I'm in here, spelled out on a letterboard by a young man who hadn't communicated for 2 decades. This is the moment a voice emerges from complete silence, and it's where our whole story really begins. Now, to really understand just how earth-shattering that sentence was, you have to get to know the world it came from. You have to meet Houston and his mom, Katie. I mean, for 17 years, Katie was told by experts that her son just wasn't there, that the person inside was gone, that there was no hope, and she should just give up. Can you even imagine the heartbreak, the sheer isolation of living with that every single day? And then, one Thanksgiving Eve, this happens. A moment that just completely defied every single diagnosis. A boy who never sat still, who never really made eye contact, suddenly does both and speaks. For his mom, Katie, this wasn't just a breakthrough. This was an absolute miracle. But here's the thing, right? A mother's story, no matter how incredible and powerful it is, isn't the same thing as hard evidence. So, how in the world do you even begin to test something that seems completely impossible? Well, they came up with a test that was designed to be as clean and simple as possible. The whole goal was to completely eliminate any chance of cheating or any kind of normal communication. Houston can't see the number. He can't hear anyone say it. The only way he can possibly know it is if he's somehow pulling it right from his mother's mind. So get this. During one of the tests, this is the number that pops up. A scientist shows it only to Katie, and across the room, Houston, without seeing anything, immediately points his pencil to 2, then 2, then 2, then 0. And this wasn't a fluke, it wasn't a lucky guess. This happened over and over again with just stunning accuracy. So you might be wondering, okay, if the evidence is that clear, why isn't this front page news? Why isn't it rewriting every science textbook? And the answer, it turns out, isn't really in the data itself. It's in the belief system that all of modern science is built on. For more than 100 years, science has pretty much run on this one big idea: materialism. It's the basic belief that if you can't touch it, measure it, or see it physically, it isn't really real. And in that worldview, consciousness, your thoughts, your feelings, your awareness, it's just a byproduct. It's a ghost in the machine, a neat trick that our brain's wiring learned to do. And this right here, this is the core of the whole conflict. The materialistic view says your brain is like a factory. It creates consciousness from scratch. But what happened with Houston suggests something totally different. Think about a radio. A radio doesn't create the music it plays, right? It just picks up a signal that's already out there in the air. What if the brain is more like that radio? A receiver, tuning into a signal of consciousness that exists all around us. But here's the really interesting part. What if that big, hard wall of materialism isn't actually as solid as we've been led to believe? For decades, serious, peer-reviewed science has been quietly piling up data that just doesn't fit the model. And the most famous example of this? The Ganzfeld experiments. Now, this isn't some fringe one-off study. We're talking about 50 years of research done in dozens of different labs all over the world, all designed to test mind-to-mind communication under the most rigid, controlled conditions you can imagine. So here's basically what they found. In a standard test, one person, the receiver, tries to guess which of 4 images a sender is looking at. Now, if it's just pure guesswork, they should be right about 25% of the time. But over thousands and thousands of trials, the actual result is consistently around 31%. Now, that 6% jump might not sound like a lot, but in the world of statistics, that is an earthquake. Yeah, a gazillion to 1 isn't exactly a technical term, but you get the point. The odds of this result being just a random fluke are beyond astronomical. And, this is crucial, many of these tests were done with a receiver in an electromagnetically shielded room. So it's not radio waves, it's not some kind of conventional signal. Something else is going on. So if the old map, the map of materialism, can't explain this data, well then we need a new map. We need one that can actually make sense of Houston's abilities and the Ganzfeld results and all the other weird stuff in between. And this brings us to the first absolutely radical question this new map asks. We have to be willing to take our most basic fundamental assumption about the world and just flip it on its head.
And here it is. This is the breathtaking alternative. What if consciousness is fundamental to the universe, like gravity or electromagnetism, a field that permeates everything? And what if our brain's main job isn't to create consciousness, but to filter that enormous reality down to just the tiny trickle we need to survive?
This idea is what some people call the theory of fundamental consciousness. It suggests that consciousness isn't some happy accident that popped up late in the game of evolution. No, it's the source code. It's the very foundation of the universe itself. This picture shows that shift perfectly, right? The old map puts physics at the bottom, the absolute base of everything, with consciousness as this tiny little mystery at the very top. The new map just flips the entire pyramid over. It says, no, all of science, physics, chemistry, biology, it's all happening within a foundation of consciousness that we never even accounted for. Okay, so what? What if this new map is right? This isn't just some abstract debate for scientists. The implications for how we see ourselves, each other, and our place in the universe are just profound. This changes everything. All of a sudden, Houston and others like him aren't anomalies. They're not breaking the laws of nature. Maybe their brains just have a less restrictive filter, giving them a clearer, more direct connection to a reality that we are all a part of, but usually can't perceive. I mean, the takeaway is staggering. It suggests that we aren't just isolated little islands of thought locked inside our skulls. We're fundamentally interconnected, part of a shared conscious universe. And our potential for connection, for real empathy, for understanding, it could be way, way bigger than our current science can even begin to measure. And maybe the greatest irony of all is that the key to this revolutionary new understanding could come from the very people our society has historically dismissed and pushed to the margins. As this teacher points out, maybe they have the most to teach all of us about the true nature of our own minds. And that's really the question that this whole story leaves us with, isn't it? It challenges us to completely reconsider the boundaries of our own reality. And it makes you wonder, what incredible untapped potential might be waiting inside all of us if we just learned how to listen on a different frequency?